Hey guys, this is Ray, and I wanted to answer a few questions because I keep getting these questions quite frequently, both on and offline, and I thought it would be important to cover these things. A lot of people kind of discount the information I present because of three, I don't know what to call them, objections. And when I worked at cons briefly, I learned a lot about overcoming objections and trying to sell the item at all cost, because basically our whole mission at cons was to make a profit. And in order to do that, you had to sell a certain margin of product, right? So I'm not really a salesperson. I'm not trying to sell anything. There's nothing that I'm doing that is generating money from the people that I'm giving this information away to currently for free. So the first objection that I always get is usually about the berries or the breakfast that I eat. It's about 9:40 right now, and I'm still working on my breakfast, by the way. And the main question I get is, well, you're always talking about plastic and one-time use, and that's true. I am. And I recognize that these berries come in plastic. So why do I still get them? The main reason I keep getting these berries is because what is the alternative right now? I sometimes could go to the farmer's market if they were actually there right now in volumes that I could get these sustainably over and over. Now, we all know that in corporate America, it's difficult to do those kind of things on a regular basis. So what I'm showing you is currently what's working for me, which you can find at your own local stores. Now, I go so far as to say that the quality of the berries is also, it varies from different places to different places. Currently, in a certain demographic here in San Antonio, in the Central Market area, the berries are a lot higher quality, even than the one at the Wholesome Foods place that's up on the north side, also known as Whole Foods. I'm not talking in code. There's Central Market, there's Whole Foods, we're in San Antonio. I'm just using terminology so that if there's some kind of problem that anyone has with me talking about a certain vendor, well then you know that I don't have a specific problem against the vendor. I don't really have a problem with any of our infrastructure. In fact, all of the grid that's in place can be utilized to better what it is that we're trying to accomplish. For an example, if we think that plastic one-time use is bad, maybe, and this is just me as an innovator thinking, maybe since our recycling facilities already have all of these things in place that come and pick up our stuff, maybe they can go and sort these things, pre-sort these things and get them back to the sources they came from. For an example, if I ate 5-10 of these a week, then maybe 5 or 10 of these a week should go back to the Central Market that they came from. Because with barcodes that are on these packages, we would be able to automate, scan, and sort these things so that they go back to where they're going. And then these berry packages could be reused after they're sterilized in some manner. I'm not sure, but it would cost a lot less resources to reuse or repurpose this item than to break it down with all the heat and water it takes and remake the item. I don't know, not a genius. Yes, these berries come in plastic. Now, does that mean that they're unhealthy? No, this is still currently the most delicious food to me. Not everyone is into sweet. I'm into sweet. That's why I focus on berries. Some people are into savory. If you're into savory, you might consider trying an alternate diet that has to do with maybe potatoes or whatever vegetable it is that you like. Those kind of things that you crave. For me, I crave sweet potatoes when I think about potatoes. Those things that you crave might be the things that you need nutritionally. You just haven't experienced it enough to understand that once your body is satisfied, it'll let go of all of the other objections. So, 2, the second more common thing that I get hounded with, the car you drive. So in this household, we have 2 cars, which already creates a problem. All these cars that we have are extremely resource heavy. So every one of us who has a car, and all of our kids now who have cars, basically are using resource heavy items every day. So how do I overcome that objection? Well, my car, what I try to do with the Jeep that I have, I've outfitted it so that it's a complete off-road mobile adventure unit which is, it does double duty for me because I can even sleep in that thing. But the main thing is I try to get that vehicle on the road only when someone is traveling with me. So this has been a big difficulty with my current marketing group who I'm trying to give this stuff away to. To take people out on these excursions has been like trying to say that I want to pull one of your teeth and I think you'll feel better afterwards. I'm not pulling any teeth and I'm not pulling anyone's leg when I'm talking about taking people on these adventures. To get people out into nature is one of the number one paramount things that will refocus your health. How do I claim that to be true? I'm not a nutritionalist. That's my number 3 thing. We'll talk about that in a while. But how do I claim that to be true? I can claim that's true because the people who I've taken to these places have experienced the same thing that I experienced when someone else took me to this place. When I went to Big Bend National Park eons ago, it was because my dad's company had an annual team builder that took all the people out to a place such as Big Bend. It just so happens that my first experience to go on these trips was to go to Big Bend. And as it would turn out, their follow-up trip also was to Big Bend National Park. Now, the first thing I saw when we were driving up into the park, there was this black bear crossing the road. That was amazing to me because I loved watching Wild America. There are a lot of our children who love watching Kratz Creatures and, you know, whatever, Man versus Wild and all these different shows that show wildlife. There are a lot of kids who love going with their daddies to go hunting and fishing. Why is that? It's because they get out into the wild, they get out into nature, and they have a connection to nature. Now, with a proper outdoorsman, these children are learning conservation and they're learning skills that are vital for all of our communities. We need people who are able to procure and harvest different animals and also to manage that landscape and wildlife in a way so that it's not overrun with things that are damaging to the environment. So going back to number 1, plastic is overrunning our environment. So when I talk about plastic one-time use, what I'm talking about is usually the things that we can avoid naturally. For an example, water. Now, we did buy big plastic jug containers to transport our water in because we get the water that they sell at Whole Foods. There are a lot of benefits to taking water that doesn't have all the additives and also that has a different pH balance than the water that we get out of our tap. I've been doing that for the entire 2 years as well in terms of how I lost weight. Most people will write that off and discount it, but as you begin to eat differently, you begin to see different progresses. As you begin to drink differently, even alcoholic drinks, you see different progress. Because the purer our foods are, even the drinks, for an example, the purer the output will be. Because we are what we eat, no matter how you slice it. So, staying with this second thing, my car. My car does use a lot of gas. If there were an alternative that were just as efficient as the hybrid that we also have in the stable, then I probably would have opted for that. Now, if a new hybrid were to come out and it was just as capable as the Jeep that I have, then I would still have a dilemma because then I would consider buying a whole other vehicle. Well, what does that do except for support more consumerism and more products at a rate that's already unsustainable? I'm not sure. I can't answer those questions because I'm not in charge at that level. Right now, all I'm trying to do is take charge of my own life. So, in trying to take charge of my own life and my own health, what I've found, going back to step number 1, is that these things are almost magical for me because, again, I enjoy sweet foods. Used to be raspberries that I enjoyed the most, but for some reason that energy content or the taste or something changed over time. It's possible I've just been shopping from the wrong store and not finding the amazing raspberries that are still out there. All sun fruit is amazing. All fresh food is amazing, and it's satisfying. So maybe you're right. Maybe instead of eating these every day, what I should do is consider having an avocado every day. something that I could just carry out of the store without a plastic container. Maybe I'll do that. I'm not sure. But again, for my purposes, what I enjoy eating is blueberries. This is the way they come right now. I haven't been able to change that because I've barely been able to change anyone's mindset about the fact that eating differently will change your life. So, enough about that. The next thing that I hear all the time, you're not a licensed nutritionalist, and that's correct. For me to talk about eating fruit, that might be detrimental for people that have type 1 diabetes. I should probably also always include that disclaimer. You might want to talk to your doctor about this. You probably should. But I'm going to tell you first that your doctor may not always tell you all of the things that are possible in terms of changing your health. And I'll tell you that because I've had a number of, I don't know what you call them, the doctors that check you out and prescribe things. I've had a number of doctors, but it wasn't until the last doctor I had at the corporate place that I worked. The corporate place that I worked has a doctor, has a clinic inside of the office, believe it or not. So I was fortunate enough to work at this place where I could literally walk up the hall on any break. And in the position I was in, any moment was a break because I was always waiting on work for someone else to get completed so I could do my job. So I could walk to the clinic and then talk to a PA or whatever you call them, and or a nurse or practitioner. I have no idea what their titles are. I'm not the titles guy. I'm just the information guy. So this person was the first person who took my prescription and said, "Oh, I see you're on blood pressure medication. Have you thought about changing what you eat?" They were the first person that told me that, asked me that. And I said, I have thought about it. But no matter what I try to eat differently, I'm always coming up struggling. It's harder for me to make progress. Now, I noticed that this doctor, I believe, I can't remember her name right off the bat, but this doctor was trim and she looked amazing. And when she asked me this question, I wondered if she had a follow-up bit of insight. So I asked her, what would you recommend? The first thing she talked about was what I ate normally. One of the things I had previously eaten earlier that week, not the day before because I wanted my cholesterol numbers when they did my blood test to look a little more normal. But a few days prior I'd had, and again, I hate naming businesses, but I had a Wendy's Baconator. One of my favorite all-time burgers, There's so many different burgers out there that make my mouth water when I think about them, but I had a Baconator. And I told her, this is what I normally have. And she said, well, there's a junior, right? And so I said, yes, but I'm a big guy. And she said, well, you're going to continue to be a big guy if you don't start figuring out how to trim that down. But I'm going to tell you another secret that hardly anybody will tell you. Because in our job, and this is how she said it, in our job, we're expected to provide prescriptions. But in my life, I live a healthy life, and I want other people to feel the same way as I do, which is wonderful. She said, because I remember you talked to me about Big Bend. You want to go out there and you want to hike. In order to do that, I'm willing to bet that if you ate differently, that you would feel different when you went to do all these different excursions. She said, have you ever tried to cut back on meat altogether and just go with fruits and vegetables and nuts? And I said, I haven't tried that. I haven't tried that yet, is what she said. Now, I'd heard this before from another person on videos that I've listened to. His name is Ralph Smart. And this guy, he talks the same way that I do, which is if I say that I can't do something, that's pretty much going to happen. But if I say that I can't do it yet, in my mind, my subconscious leaves a possibility that I might be able to succeed in this alternate way. So this licensed physician, or whatever you want to call them, nutritionalist, doctor, what have you, gave me the insight that gave me the ability to make choices that were different, because her plus someone else resonated in a way that made me feel like, I can do this. And so when I started to eat differently, I noticed some remarkable changes in everything across the board. All of my energy levels, all of the different health aspects that I'd been struggling with in the past, and all of the different conflicts that I had in my own mind started to fall away. And they fell away in such a profound way that it was almost impossible to believe, except for it was happening in real life for me, like a dream. Speaking of dreams, this isn't on my top 3 of lists of anything, but let me ask you, when you dream, if you remember, how do you dream of yourself? As I began transforming myself, my dreams took on that same aspect. Even in my dreams, I'm educating people about the different types of foods that we can eat in order to restore our health. Even in our dreams, people are asking me how to innovate in ways that eliminate these old ways. In my dreams, I'm talking to President Trump, and I'm talking to President Trump in a way where he's able to hear my insight, and he's a pretty smart guy in my dreams. I don't know how he is in real life. I've never met the guy. I don't have any opinion about the guy or even any kind of distrust or anger or hostility towards the guy or anybody. The only thing I'm concerned with is anybody wanting to change their health? Because if you are, well, let me be the first to tell you, my doctor suggested that I have less meat. And that was the only thing that started to work with me in a profound way that changed my world. It blew my mind. So those are the objections that I'm normally faced with. I try to overcome them with a lot less words and a lot more examples and demonstrations. In my own circle of marketing, I'm kind of at a standstill, and that's why I'm taking my show on the road to places where there are people who would like to walk alongside me and experience these same things in person. That being said, if you'd like to check out what I do, please visit me on one of my Facebook pages or even in person and see what you can do in your own life. For me, everything I've done in my life has been pretty profound and has allowed me to enjoy my dreams, and vice versa. The blueberries have enjoyed me, and I've enjoyed my blueberries. You know, they're accomplishing what they wanted to do by becoming this amazing food that also was a little bit less impact on all of our resources than the meat alternative, which if you think about this one package for these blueberries, now you just have to imagine if I ate a hamburger, what all resources went into that whole cow for an entirety of its lifespan, and then all of the shipping for these big animals, and then processing and slaughter. What went into that? What went into this? This is recyclable. The best I can do right now. If I could do better, I'd be showing it to you better right now. If you can do better, show me an example so that I can work with you, and also we can showcase these things to other people so they can succeed as well. Have a great day.